But let's get into the actual guys I love, starting with Michael Pittman. I really think he could be 2020's A.J. Brown. Just a beautiful, beautiful stretch run for this guy. And I think he could go completely berserk. He's 44% owned, and any savvy owner's like, he shouldn't be out there in your league. But you might as well check. He had 3 catches, 66 yards, and a score. So nothing crazy, especially volume-wise, only 3 targets. I mean, didn't love that. But third straight game with him leading the team in the highest snap count. Third straight week with a very, very usable fantasy line. And showing some juice after the catch. He's showing deep ability. There was a 30, the majority of it was a 45-yard catch and run of his day. So that was a great big play, just like A.J. Brown. The dude can go deep, just like A.J. Brown. He can make the contested grabs. There's so many parallels, and in particular is the schedule. You get Tennessee, Houston, the Raiders, Houston again across his next 4 games leading into the championship. Just like A.J. Brown, and maybe Phillip Rivers could be the Tannehill. Who knows? I doubt it. But just like A.J. Brown last year, the schedule's soft, the talent's real, the usage is somewhat there. It's not great. It's not lovely, but the snaps are there. He's on the field. So when he's going to get the looks, he's going to be there when they're throwing. I think the guy could go crazy with that schedule. Phillip Rivers clearly is liking him, and they're building that nice rapport. Don't be shocked if Michael Pittman's one of those guys that's on some of the highest championship roster rates come the end of the year. And if he's somehow still out there in your league, he's the only guy I really look at from this list, from week 11, or week 12 rather, waiver wire list, that has any significant, I got to go get this guy. The only other one might be Sterling Shepard, 45% owned, and it's just so steady. I mean, since coming back from his injury, 18, 15, 12, 11 PPR points, and none of those matchups were great. Daniel Jones was sucking a huge one throughout all of it. And now you look at the cakewalk schedule coming up from there. Cincinnati, bottom 4 against receivers. Seattle, the worst team against receivers. Arizona, not a hard matchup, and certainly points will be needed. Cleveland, bottom 3 against wide receivers. Across his next 4 games, all juicy matchups. So for a guy that's already getting it done, you already got a double-digit floor. He's seen 8, 10, 8, and 6 targets. Unbelievable, just consistent, steady usage. 6, 8, 6, 6 catches. So huge reception rate. Like when you throw it to him, he's getting the ball and he's making things happen. I love Sterling Shepard moving forward. Pittman's got the ceiling of these waiver wire pickups, but if you needed a floor guy, if you want someone that every week you put in, you're going to get 10, that's going to be Shepard. And the ceiling is pretty damn high with those matchups. He would definitely be the second highest priority on my waiver wire after Michael Pittman. Above Gus Edwards as a streamer. Like both those wide receivers could have some very real rest of season value. But again, 45% I'm probably not out there. A guy who might be out there, only 20% owned right now, Nelson Algholor. It's been a roller coaster. No one's going to argue that. It's really difficult to know when can I get Nelson Algholor into my lineup. I can't pretend to have this crystal ball when it's going to work out and when it's not, but I will say it's worked out more often than it hasn't in the last 6 weeks. 14, 15, 22, 0. So doesn't work out. That was the win day. Toss that one out. 14, 2, 21. So, I mean, if we toss out that awful, ruined game, we've got 6 out of 7 games. He's been top 30, often, 2 games inside the top 15. Number 10 wide receiver this last week with 6 catches on 9 targets. Team, season ties it to season high. So that was encouraging to see the actual volume there. 88 yards and a TD, but a TD monster, absolute TD monster, 5 touchdowns across his last 7 games. And you get Atlanta this week. Do you need me to spell that one out for you? I sure hope not if you've been playing fantasy at all this year. And then the Jets right after. I mean, did you see what Keenan Allen just did? Not that Algholor will ever do anything close to what Keenan Allen has been in his career, but still. There is some actual upside to Nelson Algholor, especially if you need just a 2-week plug-in. The schedule stiffens up with the Colts after that, but still, there is some upside for a guy that's been just far more often than not being a very productive person for your lineup. Who knows if he'll actually peg the right week, but 6 out of his last 7, other than the wind-blown terror and then 1 complete dud, have been very useful. So I think Nelson Algholor could be a guy to look for on waiver wires. Moving forward here, Jalen Reagor. I did not make the thing for, but Jalen Reagor is only 25% owned. So Jalen Reagor, 4 or 5 targets, 52 yards, nothing to write home about, but he gets Seattle this week. Number 1 matchup for wide receivers. So you're looking for a streamer, could be great. Anything tied to Carson Wentz right now blows, but Reagor blew the least, if that's any type of solace. I mean, Travis Fulgham had 1 catch. Greg Ward had 3 for 9 yards. Jeffrey, no catches. There's no wide receivers doing anything. Dallas Goedert had a nice day, but Reagor's the one receiver that's actually got some meaningful value right now. Could be interesting at only 28% owned right now. I still think, maybe I'm just doubling down on my take that this guy could blow up. Clearly he's not going to be like Odell, rookie season Odell, but he's got some juice. If Carson Wentz can ever get his head out of his fucking ass, then Jalen Reagor could be huge. Additionally interesting, Jets wide receivers, Brashad Perriman. He goes 54 yards and a score against the Chargers. 3rd touchdown in 2 weeks. Has that rapport with Flacco? Now, that's the question is, would this continue when we get Sam Darnold back? Who knows? I can't guarantee anything there. It's the Jets. But that rapport with Flacco is real. So as long as he's playing, I think Perriman's in streaming radar. He gets in the playoffs, just a complete joke. Seattle, week 14, most points as we've cited. Cleveland, week 16, the 3rd most. Yeah, a brutal, meat to the sandwich. The Rams in week 15, you'll never use them there. And honestly, if you're in the playoffs, do you really ever need a Jet? I don't think so. But Perriman did win people the most titles of anybody last year in the championships. Like over 30% of championships had him on their roster. So he's interesting to look at. And then Denzel Mims led the team in targets, 8 targets. Hauls in 3 of them for 71 yards. So not a great conversion rate on his targets, but a lot of big plays, 27, 25, 19 yards. So chunk play after chunk play. Also getting some defensive pass interferences. He's got that same soft schedule we just said for Perriman too. So I'd like to see what Mims does down this stretch. See if this big play guy can keep it going. Last wide receiver here. What do we make of Damiere Byrd? The biggest day of any of these guys. 6 catches on 7 targets, 132 yards and a score. But this is, let's call this one, to me, fantasy fool's gold, like Richie James a couple weeks ago. First time he's ever been over 100 yards in his career. This offense is so game flow, like the most game flow dependent. They got down to the Texans and had to chuck. But how often, on the wrong script of that, Bird might see 1 target, if anything. So I'm not going to go all in. We've seen Myers blow up and then disappear for 3. It's just, there's no consistency to anyone attached to a game that will run it all down the throat if they can. And then even when they throw, it's like, who's going to be the guy? Good luck figuring that out. If you have trash, why not stash him? See if this happens again. Him and Cam did play together a couple years back. It was a beautiful 42-yard touchdown too, over the shoulder. Breadbasket, loved it. But I'm not sprinting out to get Damiere Byrd in any leagues.